Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me as we, a bunch of friends, standing around a virtual water cooler, talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but you know what, guys? Before we get into the movie news, you know, we like to commemorate special occasions around here on the John Campea YouTube channel, and we would be remiss if we didn't take a second to celebrate that tonight, finally, we get to run out to the theaters and watch the release of the brand new MCU movie, Inhumans. Yes, of course, Inhumans opens tonight, ladies and gentlemen, November 2nd, 2018. Yeah, for those of you who might have missed it, if you remember back during the big Marvel event that Kevin Feige hosted, they announced the Phase 3 lineup. Inhumans was scheduled to release on November 2nd, 2018. So I hope all you guys bought your tickets. I hope you're ready to go out and get in line to watch Inhumans tonight. Wow, has the MCU had anything fail? Like on a quality level, on a reception level? Has the MCU ever had something fail as spectacularly as that Inhumans TV show? I mean, my God, thank God they didn't end up doing an actual movie version out of it. Anyway, guys, we got a whole bunch of movie stuff to talk about here today, so let's dive into some of the real stuff. And we're going to get things started with your emails. Now, you guys are the ones who submit the topics and questions for the show. How do you submit a topic or a question for the show? It's easy. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. So let's get things started with the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Ryan Lewis, who writes, "Some exciting news. According to Deadline, Ewan McGregor has signed on to play Black Mask in the Birds of Prey movie. Have you heard anything about this, and what is your opinion on it?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, for those of you who may have missed the announcement, it has now come out. Apparently, it's official. Ewan McGregor has joined the DC Cinematic Universe, although they're not really calling it the DCU anymore. Who cares what they call it? He's joined the DC Cinematic Universe for the upcoming Birds of Prey movie, and he's playing the beloved Batman villain, Black Mask. So I guess Black Mask is going to be terrorizing Gotham. Remember, there is no Batman in this movie. They've confirmed that multiple times. But yeah, the great Ewan McGregor is joining the movie. I'll tell you what, I love Ewan McGregor. Forget the Obi-Wan stuff. And of course, he was wonderful as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but even forget that stuff. He is a great actor. You know what's funny? I was surprised the other day to realize that he's never been nominated for an Academy Award. He's never been nominated. He's got a few like smaller awards, like a Golden Globe and some Emmy nominations and things like that. But he's never been nominated for an Academy Award. I will always love Ewan McGregor for Moulin Rouge. Now, you guys know I talk about Moulin Rouge all the time. He was so freaking good. It's my all-time favorite musical film. So good, and he's so good in it. And of course, he's got a lot of good television works, too. He was really good in Christopher Robin that was just out in theaters. He's just a very diverse, great actor. He can do heavy drama. He can do action. He can do comedy. He's a great addition to anything. So anyway, we've known for a while that Margot Robbie and her Harley Quinn film was coming, Birds of Prey, and now they've got Elizabeth Winstead is going to be playing Huntress, and Jurnee Smollett is going to be, I forget who Jurnee Smollett's going to be playing, but anyway, so they've got their cast together, and now they've rounded out, they've got their villain. Now, we heard a little while ago that they were probably going to go in the direction of Black Mask for their villain, which had a lot of people initially speculating that they might actually see Batman pop up, since this is in Gotham, and Black Mask is traditionally, you know, your Batman villain, Red Hood kind of stuff. But they did say this is a Gotham without Batman. Now, whether that means there's no Batman in this universe at all, or whether Batman's just away, or what they're going to do, they still haven't figured out how they're going to deal with this. There are still some people out there who think Ben Affleck is going to cameo as Batman in this, which I would personally love. I think that would be awesome. But, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that that's not going to happen. Anyway, it looks like they're targeting a 2020 release date for this. And I got to tell you, I love the addition of Ewan McGregor to this. I never would have guessed they would have gotten him for it. I'm glad that they did, though. What do you guys think about Ewan McGregor joining on this film as Black Mask? Jump down to the comments section and let me know your thoughts. And listen, it's important to keep in mind, too, when looking at stuff like this, casting doesn't always mean a great movie, right? We've seen tons of movies with great casting. I'm not trying to sell a bill of goods here that says because Ewan McGregor is now in this movie, that automatically means he's going to be in there. Not at all. I'm not suggesting that. This movie may stink. For sure it may stink. But, I mean, if you're going to say is adding Ewan McGregor good news or bad news, at least it's good news. Oh, and by the way, that wasn't the only bit of news to come out here. It does really look, the director of the film is now saying this is going to be a rated R movie. That they're going to take the lead from things like Deadpool and Logan, and they're looking to make Birds of Prey a rated R movie. Now, the director of Birds of Prey, she recently said this. Anyway, this comes out of the report. On Tuesday, Birds of Prey director Kathy Yan told the crowd at the U.S.-China Entertainment Summit how she landed the directing gig for the DC movie. She also confirmed that Birds of Prey was rated R and will feature a half-Asian character, Cassandra Cain, who in the comics is one of the vigilantes who takes on the role of Batgirl. Birds of Prey opens on February 7th, 2020. So now not only do we know that Ewan McGregor is going to be Black Mask, according to the director, this is going to be a rated R film. Now, also keep in mind that about a year ago, the director of Venom also suggested Venom was going to be rated R. Of course, it ended up being PG-13, and it was perfectly good as a PG-13 film. But right now, she's suggesting that Birds of Prey is going to be R-rated. Will it actually end up being R-rated? Will Warner Brothers follow through on that? Maybe. They've done R-rated comic book material before. Let's see how that turns out. All right, let's move on now to the next email. And the next email today comes to us from Adam Choate, who writes, a new Entertainment Weekly article has revealed that an upcoming Game of Thrones action sequence actually took nearly 3 months to film rather than under 2. This is likely to take up an entire episode, if not the majority of one. Reading this got me even more pumped for just how epic the final season will be. Your thoughts on this article? Well, there have been several articles, Adam, going around about Game of Thrones. Of course, we're starting to finally get a little bit closer and closer. I still can't believe how long we've had to wait between the last season and this next and final season of Game of Thrones. But a lot of the chatter that's been going around lately is this action sequence, the final big battle action sequence of Game of Thrones. Keep this in mind, all right? Most movies shoot between 2 to 3 months. That's how long most movies shoot. Not how long most scenes shoot, but how long most movies shoot. Now, we've got this battle scene coming, and they are claiming that this battle scene in Game of Thrones is going to be the biggest on-screen, not just television, the biggest on-screen battle ever in history. That's what they're boasting about this thing right now. And on top of that, you got Peter Dinklage. Now remember, they just did Battle of the Bastards, which is one of the great television moments ever. The Battle of the Bastards was amazing. Peter Dinklage is saying this battle scene makes Battle of the Bastards look like a theme park. That's what Peter Dinklage is saying. Now, here's a little bit more going into this. The report specifically talking about this battle sequence is this: 11 weeks, 3 locations. You'll never again see anything like it. To date, the show's biggest battle is the Battle of the Bastards from Season 6, Episode 9. That battle took 25 days to film and was directed by Miguel Sapochnik, who has also directed this massive battle for the 8th season. The Battle of the Bastards took just under 4 weeks, right? The Battle of the Bastards, you remember how big and epic and grand a scale that was. Under 4 weeks. This thing, 11 weeks to shoot. Remember, most movies take between, 8 weeks and 12 weeks to shoot. In the time it usually takes most movies to shoot an entire movie, that's how much time they needed just to shoot this battle sequence. And for anybody who watched the Battle of the Bastards, or from the finale with the White Walkers and the dragon and all the guy running across the ice and blah, blah, that was epic. To try to put that into some context and perspective, this thing is going to be nuts. 11 weeks for one battle sequence. I'm assuming here it's going to be a big battle between, an army of the living versus an army of the White Walkers. That's what I'm guessing, but I don't know that for sure. I could be wrong. But that's what I'm assuming at this point. Probably a lot of us will just assume the same thing. This thing to me sounds nuts and amazing and fantastic, and I cannot wait for it. So yeah, I'm counting down the days so we can see this whole thing. All right, let's move on now to the next email. And the third email today comes to us from Jimmy Delane, who writes, a friend of mine told me that Wreck-It Ralph 2 is projected to beat Creed 2 at the box office on their opening weekend. I told him that he must have gotten bad information, but now I'm reading that Ralph actually is supposed to beat Creed. How is that even possible? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Jimmy. And we've got Thanksgiving Day. You know what's the funny thing? A lot of you guys know I am not American. I'm actually Canadian. I live in America. I'm a permanent resident in America, but I am Canadian. So people say Thanksgiving, I never know when that is. Because to me, Thanksgiving is in October. That's when the real Thanksgiving is in October. So when people say October, or when people say Thanksgiving here, I never know when they're actually talking about. But apparently that's the weekend of the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. That's when Thanksgiving Day weekend is in November. And it's a couple of big films are opening up. We got Wreck-It Ralph. We got that Robin Hood movie opening. Let's not forget that. And we've got Creed 2. Now, I will say this. I love Wreck-It Ralph. Love it. I've been waiting for this sequel. But for me, if I can only buy one ticket for a movie that weekend, it's Robin Hood. Kidding. It's Creed 2. Clearly, it's Creed 2 by a mile. So, dude, I can totally get your reaction to first hearing from your buddy that, Wreck-It Ralph 2 is supposed to beat at the box office. I get your reaction because to me, obviously, everybody should be lining up to see Creed 2. How bad does Robin Hood look? Now, look, let's talk about Robin Hood just for a second. When they first announced the Robin Hood movie, I thought, is that really? Did you really think there's a hunger for another Robin Hood right now? But whatever. Then I heard they attached Taron Egerton to it, and then I heard what the premise was. I thought, okay, there could be potential here. But then the trailers started coming out for it. And none of them have won me over. If anything, some of the trailers have actually lessened my anticipation for that movie. That movie just looks terrible. Now, I don't know if it's good or bad. Maybe the movie's the best film of the year. Maybe it is. I'm just saying the trailers look terrible. So let's take that out of the equation for a second. And it's a big budget movie. But Creed 2, Wreck-It Ralph. Look, the first movie I'm buying a ticket for is Creed 2. That's no shade on Wreck-It Ralph 2 because I am dying to see that. But Creed 2 is the movie. But you're right. Your friend is right. Right now, the projection numbers say that Wreck-It Ralph 2 is going to win that weekend and win it pretty handily. So this is what the tracking is at right now. Right now, Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet is kind of measuring in at $65 million. That's the rough range, give or take a little bit, that's projected for. Creed 2 right now is projected for $48 million for the Thanksgiving Day long weekend. And Robin Hood right now is projected for $17 million. Which means that movie is going to take a bath. An absolute financial floppy flop bath. It's going to lose so much money, it's crazy. So let's not even talk about Robin Hood for a minute. Wreck-It Ralph Creed 2. How is that even possible? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, everybody loves the first Wreck-It Ralph. Now, you can also say everybody loves the first Creed, yes, but everybody loved the first Wreck-It Ralph. So it's not all that crazy to envision it taking number one spot at the box office. But on top of that, it is a multi-generational movie. It is a very family-friendly movie. Adults love it. Kids love it. Adults are going to want to take their kids to it. It's really... Look, while I'm lining up for Creed 2, it's really a no-brainer. Of course Wreck-It Ralph 2 is going to win that weekend. Of course it is. Because the first one is great and it's family friendly. They can bring the kids, all that kind of stuff. Not so much with Creed 2. But look, Creed 2 is going to be just fine at the box office. It's going to make all the money it needs to make. And it's going to be wonderful. The trailers look fantastic. It's awesome. But yeah, Wreck-It Ralph is going to win the box office that weekend. And yes, Robin Hood, I don't even know if it's going to come in third place that weekend. It may fall behind. Actually, I can guarantee you Robin Hood won't even be in the top 3. It may not even be in the top 4. I'm guessing Robin Hood is probably going to take the 5th spot that weekend. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. All right, let's move on now to the 4th email today. And the fourth email today comes to us from Robert Tickner. And Robert Tickner writes, strength and honor, John. Well, strength and honor to you too, Robert. Now that it's official that a sequel to Gladiator is coming, what direction do you think they should go in? Do you think Russell Crowe will reprise his role as Maximus? Could it possibly be an Oscar contender again? All right, for those of you who've not heard and don't know what Robert is talking about, by the way, Robert, it's not official, and it's not officially coming, but reports have started coming out that finally, after 17 years? I can't even remember how long it's been. When did Gladiator come out? Like 2000, 2001? Anyway, it's been a long time. That Ridley Scott is looking to return to Rome again with a sequel to Gladiator. So that's what's coming out. Now, he's working on it. That does not mean at this point that it is quote-unquote official. It's not official. We haven't heard that it's gotten any sort of official green light. We haven't heard that it's absolutely coming. It's been stamped. No, but it is being worked on. So that's what they're saying right now, is that a new Gladiator film is coming. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I love Gladiator. It won Best Picture. It won Russell Crowe Best Actor. I believe Ridley didn't win, but I think he got nominated for Best Director. For that, it had a bunch of nominations. I think it might have also won Best Screenplay. Anyway, I adore this movie. It's fantastic. It's got all the grr moments to it. It's got great drama to it. Beautiful scenes, real memorable one-liners as well. I mean, it's just a fantastic film. I have seen it probably about 20 or 30 times. I will watch it 30 or 40 times more between now and when I have my 80th birthday. I mean, it's just fantastic. So the question, though, becomes, where do you go? Could you bring back a Russell Crowe? Well, if you've seen Gladiator, you know that's problematic. You also really can't have back Joaquin Phoenix, because that would be problematic. So what direction would they go? Well, what the reports are saying right now, as far as which direction they'll go, they're saying this. The first film ended with Maximus successfully killing Commodus. Of course, Maximus is Russell Crowe. Commodus is Joaquin Phoenix. Though also being mortally wounded during their fight and dying. Joining his family in the afterlife and saving Commodus' sister and son from her demented brother. The sequel will follow the son, Lucius, following Maximus's impression and exposure of Commodus's corruption. So you remember the little kid, right? Commodus's nephew, his sister's daughter. You remember the kid, cute little blonde kid at the time. Yeah, I'm sure he's probably a man by now. I don't know if they're going to actually use the same actor. I think the kid's still acting. I might be wrong about that. But apparently what they're saying is the sequel is going to follow this son. Growing up as royalty in Rome, he had these two influences, Maximus and Commodus. Maybe it's going to be a character kind of study. Which way does he get pulled in? Does he get pulled towards the good side, the dark side, whatever? We'll have to wait and see. Is it too little too late, though, for a Gladiator movie? For a Gladiator sequel? At this point, is it too little too late? Look, I've always been fascinated. I remember there were reports and notions going around for a while that they were looking at doing a Gladiator sequel a long time ago. But there was notions going around about Commodus coming back, or Maximus coming back from the dead, or there was a whole bunch of wacky ideas, and thankfully those notions got pushed aside, and they decided not to do it. So now we're talking about them going with the kid, and that's a cool idea, that's fine, but I can't help but wonder, look, now that we're 17, 18, 19 years down the line, as much as I love Gladiator, is anybody asking for a sequel? Is anybody getting excited at the notion for a Gladiator sequel? And Ridley Scott has been a little bit hit or miss, right? He had a big, long streak of horrible films in a row. Then he did The Martian, which was great. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm curious to know, what about you guys? You hear a Gladiator sequel maybe in the works. Do you get excited? Do you go, oh, that's interesting? Or do you go, who cares? And that's not a rhetorical question. I'm honestly curious what your reaction would be to a Gladiator movie coming now, so many years after the original. Jump down to the comments section and let me know what you think. All right, let's move on now to the final email today. If I can even find the final email, because it seems to have disappeared on me. Give me a quick second here as I find this final email, because I lost it. Where did it go? I think I have found it. Yes, I have found it. Here's your final email of the day. And your final email of the day comes to us from Gina Cirillo, who writes, The Toy Story movies are mine and my sister's all-time favorite movies. When Toy Story 3 ended, I was an emotional mess. So I just read an interview with Tom Hanks who said the ending of Toy Story 4 was so powerful, he could hardly get through it and couldn't look at anybody while voicing it. Could Toy Story 4 be the best one yet? All right, thanks a lot for the question. And yep, we're all waiting for Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 is on the way. They're moving towards it. I guess the voice cast has now wrapped all of their voicing of it. But yes, Tom Hanks just came out yesterday and said something some really interesting things. Basically, he was talking about how it was emotionally incredibly heavy, that he had a hard time getting through it. And now if you guys thought the ending to Toy Story 3 was tear-jerking, oh my, what is Toy Story 4 going to be? If Tom Hanks is saying he had a hard time getting through it. Anyway, here's one of the comments that Hanks made talking about wrapping up Toy Story. He said this: "The way you record Toy Story, you're in a room with the team that has created it. When I went in for my last day of recording, I wanted to have my back to them. Because usually you're facing him so you can look right up and you can talk about it. But I didn't want to see them, and I wanted to pretend they couldn't see me. When I realized what they were going for, I realized, oh, this is a moment in history." Tom Hanks saying, when I realized what they were going for, I realized, oh, this is a moment in history. What the hell do they have in store for us for Toy Story 4 that you've got Tom Hanks saying he couldn't even look at his fellow castmates when he's reading this thing and realizing this is cinematic history? What the hell does that mean? What the hell does that mean? I mean, it sounds absolutely fascinating, and I am completely on board with this. But look, one of the things that we do know about Toy Story 4, apparently what the story is going to be about is searching for Bo Peep. Now, you guys remember Bo Peep, right? She was in the first one, and then it was, I think, in the third one, they don't ever mention what happened to her. They just kind of say, she's gone. They don't say what happened to her. They don't say why she's gone. They just say she's gone. And of course, Bo Peep is Woody's love interest, right? So they're saying in part 4, they're going to be pursuing that. With Tom Hanks saying, this is a moment in history, though, I'll tell you the awful place my mind goes. And I hope I'm wrong. I think we see Woody or Buzz or both die. I actually think, like, I'm reading this, and again, I'm not basing this on anything except my own speculation based on Tom Hanks' words, okay? So this is just speculation. But when I'm reading him saying that, to me, it's like, what have we never seen? Well, we've never seen, like, the toy die, right? I wonder if Woody dies, or if Buzz dies, or if both of them die. I mean, when you're saying cinematic history and like a culmination of this whole thing, that's the only place my mind goes. But maybe it means something else. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? What do you interpret Tom Hanks's words meaning? What do you speculate he could mean coming up to the end of Toy Story 4, something so momentous happening that Tom Hanks says it's making history? What do you think he's talking about? I can only think that one of these main characters dies. I hope I'm wrong. Give me some other alternatives to believe. Please give me some other alternatives to believe. Jump down to the comment section and leave me your thoughts there. All right, guys, with all that stuff out of the way, let's save some time here and take some of your live questions. Once you guys have already been shooting in a whole bunch of live questions, so let's go to those right now. And we're going to start things off with Pelican Mike, who writes, John, this Sunday is Rick Grimes' final episode on The Walking Dead. The show's had ups and downs, but Rick has always been one of my favorite characters on TV. Well, I mean, he's been a historic character on TV. He's been the lead character of one of the most successful shows in television history. It created a complete pop culture phenomena. I mean, it's great. And Rick was the main character. Hello, Rick! Anyway, you've had, him as the character, as the central figure. I'll be honest with you. I don't care all that much. Only because I haven't really cared all that much about The Walking Dead for a number of years. I've kept up with it. I haven't watched any episodes this season. I haven't seen any of this season's episodes yet because I don't really care about it all that much. But even though I don't watch it regularly, but I caught up to the end of last season. There's no denying, whether you like Walking Dead or not, this has been a significant show. And Rick has been the lead character of it. Therefore, Rick leaving is a significant event in television. Now, a lot of people have been saying that The Walking Dead is on its decline anyway. I'm sure losing your lead character isn't going to do this show any favors. So it's a questionable decision. But hey, who knows? It is kind of, but it is a big deal. This is a big moment in TV history when one of the show's most popular shows, one of history's most popular shows, has your lead character leaving. Of course, it's significant for sure. All right, Donaldo Martinez writes, with the success of Red Dead Redemption 2, do you think there are some studios out there eyeballing the game for possible future film? Oh yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, there have been about 40 or 50 video game adaptation movies. Of course, they're looking at Red Dead Redemption. For a couple reasons. Number one, you've already mentioned the huge success of it. But number two, Red Dead Redemption is one of the very few games that actually is very cinematic. It is very cinematic. My question, though, is this. Historically, video games have been jumping at the chance to have a studio make a movie about their game. I can't help but wonder now, with so many video game movies being awful, I mean, none of them have been great. I think the last Tomb Raider was actually okay. I enjoyed the last Tomb Raider, but that's the most you can say about any video game movie. Because they all suck. Except for maybe one, which was kind of okay. And that was the last Tomb Raider. I can't help but wonder if we're in an age now where the video game company may not want to have a movie made out of their property. Honestly. There's a very good chance, I think, that the makers of Red Dead are sitting back and go, we don't want a movie made out of our game because we are afraid that a bad movie about our game will lessen and hurt our brand. Right now, Red Dead's brand is great. You say Red Dead Redemption, boom, everybody's excited. You put out a crappy movie, it may not kill the brand, but it'll hurt the brand. And I can't help but wonder now if the publishers of the game are going, thanks for offering to make a movie, but we really are not interested. We're really not interested, but thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? So are studios looking at the game as a possible film? I wouldn't be surprised if, I'm positive one studio probably owns the rights to a movie, but I don't think a publisher might even want a movie made at this point. That's just my thought. All right. Akeem writes, do you think we will still get Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel theme the next time we see Superman on screen? That theme really fit with this vision of him. Well, I mean, really the bigger question here, Akeem, is are we even going to get a Superman again? Or is the next time we get Superman going to be a rebooted and re-envisioned Superman? If, and I believe it's a small chance, but still a chance, if we do get Henry Cavill back as Superman and he does pop up again, then yes, automatically you still use Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel theme for sure. But the question is, are we going to see that Superman back again? And I really have my doubts. So, and if they do reboot it, then no, you don't use the Hans Zimmer theme. You get a different theme. If it's a different Superman, not a different actor, but a different Superman, if you reboot the character again, I think you go with a different theme. That even though I love Hans Zimmer's Superman theme, I think you go with a different theme. All right, Kevin Brown writes, would you please do a trailer reaction and analysis for the Avengers 4 trailer when it comes out? People would love it if you did, far more than you think. Well, I'm not going to do a trailer reaction because you know what I think about trailer reactions. I think they're inauthentic. There are a couple of trailer reactors out there I love. You got the Day One guys. You've got Real Rejects. There are, like I said, there are a couple of trailer reactors out there that I really enjoy. But for the most part, I think most trailer reaction stuff is fabricated, fake, inauthentic nonsense. It's staged, it's faked, it's all that kind of crap. Like I said, there are some really good ones that I enjoy watching. But for the most part, and I've tried doing them before because a lot of people ask me to do them, but I feel so disingenuous. I just feel so disingenuous doing it. Because when I watch a trailer, I usually just watch, even if it's great, I'll go. But that's not what people watching trailer reactions want. People who watch trailer reactions, they want, whoa, oh, woo. That's what they want to see people doing trailer reactions to. And that's fake. I don't do that. So there would be nothing entertaining about watching me doing a trailer reaction, because most of it would be just me doing this. And what's the point of watching that? However, what I did start doing before, and I haven't done it in a while, but is doing my little trailer breakdowns, my trailer analysis, where I'll have the trailer, stop, play for a few seconds, stop, talk about what we just saw in the trailer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now play for a few more seconds, stop, talk about it. I enjoy doing those. So yeah, I can pretty much guarantee that when the Avengers 4 trailer comes out, I will do a trailer breakdown video. For sure I will. But probably not a woo, woo. I'm not going to do one of those reactions and act it out. I'm not going to do that. All right, I think I just blew my voice out. Okay, let's see here. Ben Rayner writes, of the DC and Marvel shows you're caught up on, which is your favorite returning show so far? Ooh, I'm not heavy into any of them right now. What I mean is I'm not more than 2 episodes into any. I finally started watching Daredevil. Season 3. I finally started watching Daredevil Season 3 yesterday, and I got through 6 episodes last night. I'm a little tired today because I stayed up past my bedtime watching Daredevil. So I'm about roughly halfway through Daredevil Season 3. So we will be doing a Daredevil Season 3 spoiler discussion video tomorrow, live. So if you guys who have seen Daredevil Season 3, you want to come in and we'll just talk all about Daredevil Season 3, we're going to do that tomorrow. Because I'm planning on getting caught up and finish it before tomorrow afternoon. So anyway, but aside from Daredevil, well, I have to say Daredevil, right? Because that's the one I'm 6 episodes through. It's my favorite show this year. I still have not started watching Arrow yet. I'm 2 episodes into Flash, so I'm a few behind. I am 2 episodes into Black Lightning, so I'm a little bit behind on that. I got to get caught up. But the first priority is for me to finish off Daredevil, then I get caught up. So right now I'll definitely say Daredevil. Let's see. James Welsh writes, people always say Forrest Gump should not have won Best Picture, but do you think Hanks and Zemeckis deserved Best Actor and Best Director? Yeah, no, Forrest Gump should not have won Best Picture. I believe that might have been 2001, but I could be wrong. Forrest Gump should not have won Best Picture. Shawshank Redemption should have won Best Picture. It is one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. And it pretty much has become clear over the years that it was the better film. But that doesn't mean I don't think Tom Hanks should have won Best Actor. I do believe Tom Hanks should have won Best Actor that year. Now, Morgan Freeman was also nominated for Best Actor for Shawshank, and Morgan Freeman was iconic in that. But no, I would give it to Tom Hanks, and I've got no problem with Zemeckis winning Best Director either. It's a wonderfully directed film. What is crazy, though, is that Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest motion pictures of all time, Frank Darabont wasn't even nominated. I don't believe Frank Darabont was even nominated for Best Director. How crazy is that? That to me is nuts that he didn't even get nominated. So I have no problem with Darabont winning Best Director. I'm actually all for Tom Hanks winning Best Actor for that role because he was incredible in it. But yeah, Shawshank Redemption should have won Best Picture that year. George Costanza writes, you know what I love? How there's 2 nuts named after people, Hazel and Filbert. I remember that line. That was like not one of his most memorable lines, but he's sitting on the couch with the 2 people. You know what I love? There's 2 nuts named after people. The George Costanza line. I like that. Let's see. Kane writes, seeing all the Lord of the Rings movies extended for the first time in 10 years on the big screen, only seen it on DVD. Can one objectively say that Return of the King is the most successful film of all time? Then he follows up with 11 for 11 at the Oscars, 4 of the big ones, 4 Golden Globes, 1 SAG, 1 DGA, 6 BAFTAs, earning $1.119 billion at a $94 million budget. Keep up the filthy. And by the way, guys, have you seen the shirt? Woo! I like this shirt. Bring on the filthy. Anyway, can you objectively say it is the most successful film of all time? Well, that depends on your definition of success, Kane. It depends on your definition of success. a lot of people measure success by box office, and it was very successful at the box office, but like nowhere near as successful as like The Force Awakens or Avatar or Titanic, you know? Like nowhere, it's not even the same league as those movies. When we talk about success, are you talking about just awards? Well, if you're talking about just awards and acclaim, it's tough. It's tough to not say Lord of the Rings at that point. Now, there are 2 other films in history that won 11 Oscars. There's only 3 films I believe it's only 3 films in history that have won 11 Oscars. But only one of them swept, 11 for 11. That's crazy. And that's Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. So much critical acclaim, part 3, the final piece of a trilogy and all that kind of stuff. But can you objectively say it is the most successful film of all time? No, you can't. Because number one, you don't even have an objective definition for success. What do you mean by success? If it's money and how successful it's been financially, it's nowhere even near the top. If it's just awards, well, other movies have won that many awards. Yeah, they weren't 11 for 11, but then you can make the argument they were nominated for even more. So does that make those movies more successful than Lord of the Rings, Return of the King? So I consider, all right, now you've heard me say this before, I consider Lord of the Rings, Return of the King to be the greatest achievement in the history of cinema. When you consider, I'm not saying it's the greatest movie of all time, but I'm saying it's the greatest achievement. When you consider all of the various disciplines and arts that go into making a movie, cinematography, directing, writing, acting, costume, makeup, visual effects, sound editing, on and 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 on, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King absolutely crushes every single one of those boxes. Absolutely crushes them. To me, there has never been a film made that absolutely crushes every single art and discipline that goes into making a movie the way Lord of the Rings, Return of the King did. But does even that suggest that objectively it's the most successful film of all time? Nope. No, it doesn't. So, no, I don't think you can objectively say it's the most successful film of all time. I don't think you're wrong to say it's the most successful film of all time, but I do not think you can objectively state it is, and that's just a truth. I don't think you can do that. So that's my thought. ZOMG Ruler writes, BR equals wonderful. Malik, I guess you mean Bohemian Rhapsody. Malik is Freddie. Malik for Best Actor. I don't know. He was wonderful in it, and I said in my review of Bohemian Rhapsody that I would nominate Raimi for Best Actor. I don't know that I'd give it to him, but I would not. By the way, have you seen my new mug that Anne got me? Oh my God, love this mug that Anne got me. She got it for me for our Dungeons and Dragons nights. So this is the cup I usually use when I play Dungeons and Dragons with. Anyway, so I would give him a nomination, but we've got a lot of other movies coming out, so Rami Malek may not even end up on my nomination list, but he is great in it. As Freddie Mercury, he's wonderful. He carries the movie. He's fantastic. Let's see. This one comes to us from... Hold on a second. Okay, this one comes to us from Tyler Yeats, who writes, "Hey John, wanted to know if you've seen the Christmas movie The Night Before with Seth Rogen." Yeah, and that I believe Anthony Mackie and why am I forgetting Robin's name? Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right? That's the one we're talking about. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. Oh no, it wasn't Anthony Mackie. It was Michael B. Jordan. Oh, why am I forgetting if it was Michael B. Jordan or him? I sometimes confuse Michael B. Jordan and Anthony Mackie the way I confuse Dennis Quaid and Kurt Russell. I know that sounds weird. I often confuse Dennis Quaid and Kurt Russell. I don't know why I do, but I often get those two mixed up. And sometimes I mix up Anthony Mackie and Michael B. Jordan too. I can't remember which one. Anyway, yes, I did see it. I did enjoy it. I thought it was really funny. And it had more heart than I was expecting, too. I thought it was really funny. I remember we talked about that movie on one of my shows once, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was quite good. All right. Ricardo Ramirez writes, what character is your favorite in Sons of Anarchy? Well, I mean, clearly your lead character, your main character, Jax, right? But other than Jax, I was always an Opie guy. Opie was my favorite character in that show. Yeah, when that episode happened, but yeah, Opie. I loved Ope. I don't know, for some reason, I just identified with Opie a lot in that show. Loved that character, man. Loved him. All right. I'm upset, writes. Over under 15%. Jared Leto's Joker cameos in Birds of Prey. 15%'s a low number. That's not a bad line. 15%. That is a nice line for that. Because if you had said 30 or 40%, I said, under. But at 15%, you know what? I'm going to shock the world right now. I'm going to take the over on that. I'll take the over. That over 15%. That doesn't mean I think it's going to happen. I still think it's well south of 50%, but I'll take the over on 15% on it. I think there's a possibility. KW Garrett 83 writes, which is more likely in 5 years? Gal Gadot wins an Academy Award for acting, or the Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup. You have to be objective as a diehard Leafs. Oh, I've always been very objective about the Leafs. They have sucked. My entire lifetime they've sucked. They've had a couple of moments where they didn't suck. But, and they are my all-time favorite sports franchise. I bleed blue and white. I don't talk about hockey a lot on this show because I know none of you guys watch hockey. But yeah, Leafs, man, forever. But I'm very objective about my Leafs. They're terrible. But, they don't have to be good. I'm a lifelong fan, whether they're good, whether they're awesome, or whether they suck like they have been in my entire lifetime. Wrap your head around that. Never in my lifetime have the Toronto Maple Leafs even been to the Stanley Cup final. Forget even winning it. They've never even been to the finals. In my lifetime, it's never happened. And it may never, but I'll tell you what. I've said for the last couple of years, the Leafs are building something. They're building something. And they ain't going to win no Stanley Cup this year, but they have built young, they've built smart, and they're getting better and better. I'm telling you what, I could see the Leafs hoisting the Stanley Cup within the next 5 years. I can see that happening. Yeah, I can. Gal Gadot is not winning an Academy Award for anything. Look, she's just not a good actress, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry. You watch every movie she's in, it's cringy. And she got into the hands of a great director with Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman, and you know what? Full credit. I was afraid Gal Gadot would ruin that movie, and she didn't. She didn't. She was perfectly adequate in the hands of a great director who knew how to hide her weaknesses and accentuate the strengths that she has, and she did. But make no mistake about it, the heavy lifting of acting in that movie was done by Chris Pine, which is probably the main reason that even though they killed him in Wonder Woman, they had to bring him back. Because he's the guy who does all the heavy lifting. He's the one who does the real acting in the movie. And they surrounded her with a great supporting cast. But I'm sorry, she's not a good actress. Sorry, you can love her as Wonder Woman all you want. There's a reason why her career has not gone anywhere, really. She's starting to get a few roles here and there because Wonder Woman's a big hit and Wonder Woman's fantastic. And, somebody asked me, well, John, would you recast Wonder Woman now? I go, no, it's working. Don't recast it. I wouldn't lose any sleep, but no, the notion of Gal Gadot winning an Academy Award is laughable. Let's see. I'm upset writes, what's better, Semi-Pro or Blades of Glory? I'll go Semi-Pro. Semi-Pro has its moments. Neither of these are good films, but Blades of Glory is outright awful. It's just outright awful. Semi-Pro has its moments, right? There's some good laughs in Semi-Pro. I'm not saying there's no laughs in Blades of Glory. There are, but I'd say the ones in Semi-Pro, there are some really good, legit laughs in Semi-Pro, so I'll take Semi-Pro over that. Daniel Fitzpatrick writes, McGregor is a great actor. Oh, he is. I think he is a fantastic actor. Like I said, he can do it all. He can do comedy, drama, action, villainous, heroic, you name it, he can do it. I think he's wonderful. Let's see. Ben Rayner writes, keep one, lose one, Meet the Parents or Something About Mary. I like Meet the Parents very much, but I will keep There's Something About Mary. I will keep There's Something About Mary. You know what's funny? I was actually, Playboy magazine got a hold of me, I guess a month or two ago. Maybe it was longer than that. Maybe it was like 3 months ago now. But at any rate, it was for Playboy Magazine got a hold of me and asked me if I would write an editorial for them about the anniversary of There's Something About Mary and the influence it had and all that kind of stuff. And I accepted it, and I was going to write this article, but then something came up and I couldn't do it. Like I just couldn't do it. And I wouldn't have been able to have met the deadline, so I had to back out of it, unfortunately. But that's a seminal movie, man. Like, that's a pivotal movie. There's Something About Mary is a classic. Meet the Parents is a very good comedy that I like very much. But to me, it doesn't have that classic status that a Something About Mary does. Something About Mary, it does not age. It's perfect. It's a wonderful comedy. So yeah, I'll definitely keep Something About Mary. Patrick Conway writes, Inhumans movies out today. So good. Yes, we referenced that off the beginning of the show. James Bonner writes, thanks for doing what you do, John. I already loved movies. You've helped me understand and appreciate them even more. Well, isn't that the way? When you're able to get together with friends who have a shared passion, it just increases your appreciation for that shared passion, right? And I just love the fact that we can have a platform like this where we as film fans can get together every day and just talk about movies. And we can learn from each other, either from some things that I'm saying or from things that all the other viewers are writing in chat boards and in the comment sections, and I learn stuff from you guys. It's great. That's what community is supposed to be. And I love it. So sharing opinions, having different opinions, debating, celebrating, lamenting, whatever, that's what film fandom's supposed to be. And I love that you guys create that environment for the show. So thank you, James. Izzy Alonso writes, are you planning to watch Overlord? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't sound like much to me, but the trailers have won me over. Trailers have totally got me hooked on the notion of it. So yes, I'm absolutely going to be watching Overlord. Patrick writes, just got recommended The Snapper. So funny. You know what? I'm not familiar with this. Wait a second. At least I don't think I'm familiar with The Snapper. Hold on a second. Snapper, 1993, with Cole Meany, who's, of course, from Star Trek The Next Generation fame. If I can get the whole page to load. Here we go. Cole Meany, Ruth McCabe's in it. I don't know anything about it. I know nothing about this movie. It's set in Ireland. Some kind of comedy. Well, listen, I've never heard from it before, and you just put it on my radar. Thank you for that. Static Space Sean writes, read that Whitney Bulger died. Yeah, he was murdered in prison. Went back and rewatched Black Mass. Just saying, trailer, one of my favorite trailers. And trailers are a great art. Trailers are a different art altogether. Trailers are marketing. That's what they are. They're marketing. But there's an art to trailers because here's the thing about trailers. You can't just make a great artistic piece. You have to make a piece that is both commercially appealing and will entice people to want to come see the movie. Here's a great example of a horrible, horrible trailer. Remember that movie Ghost that was just out like last year or 2 years ago? The trailer itself was a good representation of the movie, but the trailer itself was very artistic and had a mood to it, but it was a horrible trailer. That trailer, with all the artistic merit that it had, didn't do a single lick to get people out to go see that movie. It was terrible. So there is a real art to it. To do something creative, yet make it get people to want to buy tickets at the same time. And that's not an easy thing. It's a totally different mindset than filmmaking, which is why studios don't let directors anywhere near their trailers. They just don't let directors get anywhere because it's a different thing altogether. They get marketing people to put those trailers together, but it's still an art. Kane writes, sorry, I meant 3, not 4 big ones, and 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, going back to the Lord of the Rings thing. Don't worry about it. I got you, Kane. I got you. Patrick Conway writes, can't believe those numbers for Daredevil Season 3. I haven't seen numbers. Remember, Netflix doesn't release viewership numbers, so I have certainly not seen any of them. Maybe there was some report and I just didn't see it, but I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it a lot. Sebastian writes, where'd we go? Let's see. Okay, here we go. Sebastian writes, how can we bridge the gap regarding critics versus audiences? There is no gap. There is no gap. There is this myth out there that there's this huge disparity between critics and audiences, and the reality is there's not. There really isn't. Most of the time, it's very, very close. Take a movie like Bohemian Rhapsody right now. Last time I checked, it's hovering around 60%, which means about 6 out of every 10 critics like the movie. Guess what? From my Twitter, like I put up on Twitter after I came out of Bohemian Rhapsody saying, I really like Bohemian Rhapsody. About 6 out of 10 of the people responding to me agreed, but about 3 or 4 out of 10 also disagreed and didn't like the movie. There's no disparity. Now, every once in a while, you do get a movie that, critics just hated. Venom is a good example. That critics basically didn't like, but audiences did. Okay, but that's like 1 out of every 20 or 30 movies. That's like 1 out of every 20 or 30 movies. But that's the thing. We, as film fans, we have a fly on the wedding cake mentality. What do you mean by a fly on the wedding cake mentality? Well, you can have a wedding cake, right? And it's all white. And you see what's on that wedding cake. And there's a fly on it that's this big, but it's this black fly sitting on this like pure paper white wedding cake. And a fly. Well, yes, but 99% of the cake is pure white. But you see what's on that wedding cake? Fly. And that's what we do, right? Comic book industry puts out 7 R-rated comic book movies that all flop. Then one comes out that's hit. We go, see, R-rated comic book movies is what everybody should do. That's a fly on the wedding cake. That's a fly on the wedding cake. All that told us is that R-rated comic book movies can work. Doesn't mean they will. It means it's possible. It can. See, there's an example that it can. Also, there's many examples where it can't. Saying that there's a big discrepancy between critics and audiences is a fly on the wedding cake. It's handpicking a couple of examples out of the hundreds of films that come out every year and say, see? No. That means that sometimes there's a difference between the general critic consensus and the general audience consensus. Yeah, sometimes there is. But really, if you want to roll up your sleeves and do the work, you really notice, because I notice this all the time, because I'm interacting with film fans every day, all day, full time. That's my job, right? My experience has been, what I've noticed is that actually for the vast majority of the time, generally speaking, critics and audiences are generally usually in the same ballpark. Yes, you can bring up like a bunch of movies and show where there are differences, but for every one of those, I can give you 100 others that show where they're actually really more consistent with each other. So there is no gap between, but since all film is subjective, you are going to get times. It's inevitable. You are going to get times when one group thinks more one way and another group thinks more another way. That's inevitable. That happens. That's expected to happen. Film wouldn't be subjective if that wasn't the case. But this whole fake myth out there that there's this huge divide between critics. Here's a great example. While I do not consider myself a film critic by profession, a lot of people would say, well, John, you review movies for a living, so you're kind of a film critic. And I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, so okay, fine. So I came out of Bohemian Rhapsody, and I tweeted that I really liked it. And then one of the people tweeted to me, see, critics don't know what they're talking about. The critics don't know what's going on. Bohemian Rhapsody is great. Critics know nothing. And I'm like, well, tweeting back, yeah, but I am a film critic, and I just said I liked it. So you just contradicted yourself, So it's kind of a different sort of thing. All right, Jonathan 1996 writes, and guys, I'm just going to fly through these next bunch because we're just about out of time here. John Thee, I should write, 1996 writes, over under 25% Kylo Ren wears a mask in episode 9. Now that Snoke is not around, telling him what to do. Oh yeah, I'll 25%? I would take over 60% on that. I think it's possible he doesn't have a mask, but I'd take well over 25% that he does wear a mask in it. Sebastian writes, critics and audiences like Black Panther. No Oscar? No, just because, look, there's 500 movies coming out this year. Many of them critics and audiences will like. But there's only like 8 spots for Oscar nominations. So I think it's possible that Black Panther gets a nomination. I think it's possible. I certainly wouldn't. I like Black Panther a lot. If you see on my review, I loved Black Panther. I had a great time with Black Panther. Do I think it's one of the 8 best films of the year? No, probably not. No. So I wouldn't give it. I wouldn't give it an Oscar nomination myself. But saying audiences and critics like Black Panther, yeah, but audiences and critics probably like 200 or 300 films this year, or 1 to 200 this year, out of the 500 that came out. So, yeah, I still wouldn't do it. But again, I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible. And I wouldn't complain if Black Panther got a nomination. I just don't think it deserves one. Ben Hayusa writes, Obi-Wan Kenobi is Black Mask in Birds of Prey. I'm up for that. Yeah, I'm up for it too. But to me, it's not even the Obi-Wan thing. It's the dude from Trainspotting. It's the dude from Moulin Rouge. It's all these other things that he has done and portrayed that makes him such a great actor. It makes me think he's going to be great. And to see him in a villainous role, awesome. Let's see. John The 1996 writes again, one of my favorite movies of this decade is Prisoners. Prisoners is great. Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal is fantastic in the movie. What do you think? We talk about Prisoners here often. Prisoners comes up a lot. And directed by Denis Villeneuve, if I'm not mistaken. It's a wonderful film. Like, you get two of our generation's best actors. Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman. Together in a movie with one of our generation's best directors, Denis Villeneuve, you're going to get something special. And it's a powerful, shocking, hard to watch sometimes movie. And I mean that in a good way. But yeah, I love that film. It's fantastic. Jamil Taylor writes, will J.K. stay on as James Gordon in the DCU? I have my doubts because we don't even know when and if we're ever going to see Batman pop up again. So I have my doubts. I would love to see him, J.K. Simmons, stay on as that. We never really got to see much of him in the role. I would like to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong about that. Christopher Benson writes, John, when is the Black Man movie coming out? Yeah, what was it? I was trying to say Black Panther, and there was another movie on my head, Something Man, and I actually ended up coming out of my mouth going, Black Man. It's like, oh, that's a totally different movie. When are they going to make that one? Christopher Benson follows it up with, where's Justin Long? Oh, dude, no kidding. His role in Zack and Miri as the gay porn actor was effing hilarious, and I enjoyed him in Drag Me to Hell. I love Justin Long. I love him. And I remember back in my early days of the movie blog, there were two up-and-coming actors that I said, I guarantee you, 5 to 10 years from now, these guys are going to be big A-list actors. One was this still pretty unknown actor named James Franco after he appeared in the first Spider-Man movie. And I said, this dude has got chops. And he was a secondary character in Spider-Man, so not a lot of people paid attention. But I said, this dude has star quality, and he's got the chops. I guarantee you he's going to be a big star. He's going to be like an A-list. And, Academy Award nominations and all that kind of stuff. James Franco obviously made it. The second guy I said that about was Justin Long. And I still believe he has the star quality and he has the chops. He's a tremendous comedic actor. He's, of course, in Dodgeball, which he's awesome. He was in Galaxy Quest. He was fantastic. Where I first really noticed Justin Long was in the first Jeepers Creepers movie. That movie is my top, maybe even my top 5 all-time favorite horror movies. The first Jeepers Creepers might be my top 5 all-time favorite horror. And, then he did that long-distance relationship movie with Drew Barrymore that I thought was actually quite good, and I thought he was great in it. And then he popped up recently in New Girl. He had a recurring character in New Girl. I think Justin Long is great. And I said, I guarantee you, 5 to 10 years from now, he's a big A-list actor. Okay, that one didn't work out. But I still believe in him. And I think the dude should be a big star. It didn't quite work out that way for him, which is too bad because I think he's got the talent for it. But you're right. He was really funny in his relatively small role, though, in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Him and Brandon Routh were hilarious. Pixar fan Fication writes, did you see the Rent live cast? Not enough heavy hitters to sell this to a non-theater fans, in my opinion. Are we talking about the old Rent movie? Or is there like a new Rent movie coming out that I'm forgetting about? Rent, like there's the 2005. Look, you don't need to have a big A-list cast. And by the way, the 2005 had Rosario Dawson, Jesse L. Martin. I love Jesse L. Martin. He's so good in Flash. He brings the gravitas. Idina Menzel, Taye Diggs. I mean, it's not, you don't have to have huge A-list talent. Huge A-list talent does give your film a credibility to the audience, but it certainly doesn't guarantee big box office. So I don't know if we're talking about that, if we're talking about something else, Pixar. Sorry, you'd have to be a little bit more specific next time. All right. Angel Chang writes, hopefully Game of Thrones finale is in theaters. They've done it, they have never done a finale before, I don't think. I know they've done, I think on a couple of occasions they've done, see the first episodes of a new season in theaters first. I don't think they'll do that with Game of Thrones. Because you can let people see the first episodes of a season early on a big screen because you're not too worried about spoilers. Showing a finale early in theaters, you'd be killing it. You'd be absolutely killing it for everybody else. Because you know the spoilers would flood online before the show airs. It would ruin it for everybody. So maybe the season opener they do in theaters. I don't know that they'll do the finale. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Blake Carson writes, well, you've inspired me. I've been writing for years, but finally decided to start publishing stories on Amazon and Kindle as of yesterday. Bucket list getting smaller. Keep up the filthy. That's awesome, Blake. Good on you. A lot of people talk about how I want to write a book. Well, then I always look at them and say, well, then write a book. Oh, well, I can't. Why not? Just pick up your keyboard, start typing, write a book, go. Well, I can't. I'm going to make a movie someday. We'll make a movie. You got a video camera in your pocket. Okay. For many people, you've got a 4K video camera in your pocket. Go, shoot, hit record, get some of your friends in front of it and hit record. 2 hours later, hit stop and you've got a movie. Go make a movie. So many people talk about things. We talk. That's what we do. We talk and we talk and we talk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Whatever. You know what? I'm the type of person that I don't want to just talk about doing crap. I want to do it. I thought, you know what? I'd like to make a movie of my own. So I just did it. Maybe it was great. Maybe it was terrible. Whatever. But I did it. I often thought, just like a lot of people, I want to write a book. Well, you know what? I stopped talking about it. I just did it. I just wrote it. Maybe it's the best book ever made. Maybe it sucks. I don't know. It's up to you to decide, but I did it. I want to do this. Just do it. There's a lot of things that we have dreams about doing where there's really nothing in our way except us. So I applaud you, Blake, for taking that step. Just do it. Just go out there and just do it. I feel like I should be popping up that meme by why am I forgetting the dude's name from Transformers? Why am I forgetting the kid's name from Transformers? Anyway, I'm forgetting his name. Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Sebastian writes, what do you think about Avatar sequels financially? Oh, I think they're going to make a lot of money, Sebastian. I don't think there's any doubt there. They're going to make a lot of money. They're not going to do original Avatar money, though. I think that ship has sailed. I think that's too little too late. Ship has sailed. The market has changed these days. There's far too much competition coming out. So it's not going to do that. But make no mistake, it's going to make money. It'll join the $1 billion club. I doubt the $2 billion club, but it'll join the $1 billion club. It's going to be huge, huge financial success, just not in the same vein as the first Avatar, and that's perfectly okay. ZOMG Ruler writes, I think it turns out Bo Peep dies during his search. Oh, it's possible. Maybe Bo Peep, maybe Woody, maybe Buzz. I don't know, but maybe Bo Peep. Oh, God, that would suck so much if Bo Peep died. I can't even think about ZOMG. Vicente Gomez writes, don't you think it's funny how Disney fired James Gunn, but have somebody as crazy as Eric Andre voicing Ed the Hyena in next year's Lion King? I don't know. I don't know anything about Eric Andre, to be honest with you. I know very little about him or his background, whatever. And I think there's a difference. There is a difference between having some guy coming in off the street to do 3 days of voice work in a thing that you're never actually going to see their real face versus the director of a film. So look, I've always thought it's crazy that you fire James Gunn, but you have Robert Downey Jr. Do you have 35 minutes for us to sit down and go through the laundry list of all the stupid shit Robert Downey Jr. has done? Do you got the time for us to do that? Yet you don't have Horn. You don't have Alan Horn going, Robert Downey Jr.'s actions are inconsistent with the values of Disney. So you want to go through? How about, booting around town in a sports car, hyped up on drugs with a loaded gun in the car? How about that? Could have killed people. How about actually spending time in prison? What about all that stuff? Oh, but James Gunn made a joke on Twitter? Fire him. I mean, look, the inconsistency here with Disney over that whole issue is laughable. Laughable. What about T.I.? You got T.I. and Ant-Man. Look at this. Look at his rap. And he's in your movie? And by the way, I'm all for Robert Downey Jr. and I'm all for T.I. I'm just saying there was a massive inconsistency there. So yes, it was a massive inconsistency. About the Eric Andre thing, I know nothing about Eric Andre, so I can't comment. But yeah, there are other massive inconsistencies there. Peter Tennant writes, how do you show your kid Toy Story 3? We watched 1 and 2 together and had to wait 10 years with the ending. We grew up and gave away toys. Do you show all together or wait till they get older? Need help? Oh, man. Well, first of all, Peter, you know 5,000 times more about parenting than I do because I don't have a kid. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't know. But yeah, the ending of Toy Story 3 is certainly powerful. And it certainly presents a challenge to a parent. Can you watch that with a kid? We're talking obviously about the furnace scene, right? I think you can, but I'm the wrong guy to ask. Peter, I would totally trust your instincts on that more than anybody else. Now, I know we had to wait a long time in between those movies. Should we make our kids wait before seeing like we waited? No, I think you could probably sit down and watch all 3 of them. But again, man, I would trust your instincts on that far more than I would trust my advice. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not even a parent. So trust your guts, man. Trust your guts. All right, and I believe the final question of the day comes to us from Mitchell Biller, who writes, do you think that if The Witcher is successful on Netflix, that we could possibly see more video game properties becoming TV series instead of films? Well, I mean, it's possible, but again, we're going back to this whole thing, right? Something's coming out, whatever it is. And inevitably, 50 people line up and goes, if that makes $1 billion, could we see 100 of them? I mean, it's the same question, right? Ultimately, it's the same question. If this is a big success, the if-could question. If this happens, could this happen? Well, sure, anything is possible. But I think Hollywood is realizing just because something works one time does not mean you can just copy, paste, and replicate, right? If Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone becomes $1 billion film, could that mean, Yuri, the Sentient Dancing Microphone cover, could become $1 billion film? And then could that lead to a team up of microphone cover and mic? I mean, yeah, sure, coulds. Anything could. It's possible. So I don't know, though. Look, just because one show about one thing becomes a big hit doesn't mean make any show about that one type of thing. That automatically means it'll be a hit. So I don't know. It all depends. It all depends. Because as a lot of people will point out, the Witcher series is actually based on a series of stories that the video game is based on. This isn't necessarily based on the game, although that's how everybody knows it. So I don't know. It's a good question, but it's fraught with limitless possibilities. And so there's no really way to nail down that answer, I don't think, at any rate. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Listen, don't forget, we'll be back again on Monday. And tomorrow on my YouTube channel in the afternoon, I'll tweet out the exact time. It'll probably be 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to do a live Daredevil Season 3 open spoiler discussion to talk about Daredevil Season 3. So I got to watch the last 7 episodes between now and then. I'll get caught up. Don't worry about it. Also, guys, hey, don't forget, special thank you to all of you guys out there who are, of course, my Patreon supporters. You guys help keep this channel going. Listen, do me a favor. Jump over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. Get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter makes these shows possible. And also, there are a couple of perks to being Patreon supporters. Go and check those out, and maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.